Welcome to the Reality Revolution. As always, I'm super excited today to have Sunny Sharma once again.
Oh, guys.
If you check the link, I have a previous interview with Sunny, and we kind of got an idea of where Sunny was coming from and talked about some basic issues, reality transurfing. So I'm really excited today to go a little bit deeper and kind of mastermind some of these subjects. If you check out Sunny's channel, Sunny is talking about the exact same things I am. He has his own take on it. He talks about Neville Goddard, Dr. Joe Dispenza. Of course, he talks about transurfing. And those are the same things I'm talking about. So I really wanted to talk to Sunny again. I think that we both have gone through some spiritual growth from the last time that we talked. And so
Yeah, absolutely.
it's gonna be interesting to share where we're at now and maybe answer some questions and go from this. How you been doing, man?
I'm doing amazing. How about you?
I'm doing great. So
I was just saying to Brian before we got onto this live call that, it's been incredible seeing Brian's consistency as well. I think one of the things, with our channels, one of the best things truly has been just providing quality content to this niche, right? To this field of reality creation, really bringing a lot of clarity into this field. I'm sure that's one of your purposes as well,
absolutely. Part of this process is it's a teach learning. Me doing this, I'm learning at the same time as I'm teaching. Do you notice that process? If I had not done this, I would not have learned as much
exactly
as I had before.
I always see there's two things that I'm going through, right? Some teachings that I have definitely integrated and experientially experienced in my life, right? And those are certain things that I always talk about. But there's also certain things that I talk about where I'm conceptually grasping it now and I'm opening up to. I talk about it, in a vague sense on the channel sometimes, but through it, I see it also becoming experientially integrated as I go on with my life. And then, so it's just this constant thing where it's teachings that you've experientially integrated into your life and certain things that are still conceptual that are in the process of being so.
Yeah. So you've actually wanted to go off on some different subject. You've actually been and gone and seen Sadhguru speak. So, and I'm a big fan. I'm starting to delve more into his stuff. So tell me a little bit about that, and so we can compare it. A lot of people watching might be transurfers and may not understand. And maybe you can help me a little bit. When you went and saw Sadhguru, what did you get out of that experience?
So initially, I actually did his Surya Kriya program, which was not really with him. It was one of his teachers that really teach you the practice of Surya Kriya, which is a yoga program that you do for 20 minutes every single day. So it's that practice I learned initially, right? So that kind of got me involved with the Isha organization. Not really involved, but they got me introduced to their organization.
Right.
Really liked how they conducted things, and it was really it seemed authentic. They're really truly bringing that Eastern authentic yoga to the West. And that's why you have to attend those programs to learn it. There's nowhere you can learn it online or whatever.
Right.
And initially, so I went to that, and then I realized that the inner engineering program was coming to Philly right here. So I'm in New York. So, I was like, okay, if this is that close, and, it's maybe it's a once in a lifetime thing. I just wanted to see him live because back in the day, I really, a year ago or so, I was really diving deep into his teachings as well. So got the opportunity, definitely went there. And Quasi came too, I remember at that time.
Right.
So we went to that program. It was amazing, right? Just the culture that they have created around the inner engineering program. So there's an online portion of the program where you learn the fundamental principles of really how to go through life with the least amount of friction, with the most amount of ease and joy, right? So those are just the principles that we even talk about on our channels. But then there's also this 21-minute Kriya practice. It's a couple of different techniques all combined into one. So that's something that you learn live.
Is it physical exercises or meditation? The Kriya practice, is it physical exercises?
So the first program that I learned was the physical exercise, right? That's the Surya Kriya. Surya Kriya, which is actually not a Kriya yoga, it's a Hatha yoga.
Right.
The second one, which is called Shambhavi Mahamudra, that's Kriya yoga.
Okay.
And that's different sorts of breathing techniques and also Om chanting and certain mindfulness practices that you do for about 21 minutes, right, total. And so you're supposed to do that every single day. So that was a really cool experience, but really just seeing him in live, seeing the entire community that's surrounding him was an awesome experience overall.
I have the 620 reminder, the Brahmamanda Swarupa. You know the one he has every day at 6:20 that you get like a reminder on your phone. It's like a little chant. Have you tried that one?
No, I haven't.
Oh,
I
it's actually what.
haven't.
So what is fascinating about Sadhguru and what we talk about, so what we're talking about, it seems like that all this knowledge just came to him. He's not this dude that was at the university studying books. When they sit and talk to him, he's incredibly knowledgeable. He'll talk about physics. He'll talk about all this stuff, and it's authentic, like you said. He's got a sense of humor about it. Where do you think that knowledge? Do you think that you get a feeling that this knowledge came from somewhere else? And that's why I'm
You know,
really interested in that.
when there's in a lot of teachings they say when you go to the source of life within, right?
Right.
By taking your focus away from all of this external stuff that you can study for ages and you still wouldn't understand it fully, right? There's so many
Right.
things on the external level to learn. But once you go to the source of everything within and explore that, through that, the recognition and the understanding of all of this external stuff will start to naturally come to your understanding.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's really the case, with a lot of these people who are really awakened.
Mm-hmm.
And something that I'm also realizing in my own experience, the more I let go of my focus from just constantly studying all these concepts and
Right.
just going within and just practicing silence, through that, my understanding of life and reality just continues to increase. So in terms of Sadhguru, obviously the way he talks about a lot of intellectual concepts as well, I'm sure some of them are studied, some of
Right.
them are, some things that he's actually learned, obviously, but generally, I think just the general understanding of life dawns on you the more you go in. And that's
Right.
100% something you can experientially see for yourself right now.
He talks about. I just was reading about halfway through his book about Shiva, and I still don't understand. He's talking Shiva was an actual person, or maybe he's related to a former yogi. It's super fascinating the way he talks about Shiva. I don't know if that's something that you understand as well, or
Don't fully understand that. Again, I haven't studied.
yeah,
I try to keep my journey as less filled with concepts and symbolism as
concepts, right,
possible, and just go directly to the, what, like just that direct knowledge, the direct recognition of self source, right? But in
right.
terms of Shiva, I'm pretty sure it's a symbolism, right, representing the one consciousness. Could be wrong. I haven't studied much into it, but that's what I
Well,
think.
yeah. I mean, I got that and other things, so it was like I always wanted to ask somebody that maybe. So aside from that, the reason I brought up Sadhguru is because I'm on that path right now, and I know that you'd been there, so it was interesting to ask you about that.
Are
And
you
then you
planning
admit,
on going to inner engineering?
absolutely, I'm going to definitely go. And
Okay.
then I think that when I saw Quasi here, you were visiting California to go to Isha at that point too, right?
So it wasn't Isha. It was actually the Self-Realization Fellowship.
Oh,
So
okay.
that's established by Yogananda. And so
Uh huh.
over the summer, towards the end of the summer, I wanted to go to a meditation retreat, right? It's something I actually had been wanting to do for a while. And it
Yeah.
was so funny. Like the inspiration came to me, like after a meditation. Sometimes I'm sure this happens to you too. Like you just find yourself maybe on a website, or you just like find yourself some researching or
Right.
like up a YouTube video. That's exactly what you needed to see at that time. And it was like I was just looking for a meditation retreat, stumbled upon this, and it was a meditation retreat at the Self Realization Fellowship in
Mm-hmm.
LA. They were booked for a couple of months, so but like at the end of August when I finally got the chance to go, I wanted to book it for like the next day. Honestly, I like doing that
Yeah.
kind of stuff
Well,
where it's like
Yogananda is
up.
awesome.
Yeah, exactly. But I had to do it like wait a couple of months, I think like
Mm-hmm.
2 or so, and then I went there. Amazing experience.
Yeah.
Yogananda's teachings, obviously, I had explored them. Out of biography. It's funny, like I literally keep this book by me all the time.
Yeah. It's amazing.
It's exactly. So it's like um, the center over there, amazing. Like the lake
Mm-hmm.
shrine is basically like an entire lake where it's just filled with flowers. All you smell is just beautiful fragrance of flowers, and it's such a
Mm-hmm.
peaceful environment. It's like honoring all religions of the world, right? Like it's just basically a shrine out like surrounding a lake,
Wow.
and it's just I literally sat there like meditated for 4 days.
So is it
It was
silent? Is it a silent
beautiful.
retreat the whole time? Is it one of those where
Yeah,
you're not
silent
allowed to?
retreat. Exactly. So I didn't speak for 4 days straight. It was the most beautiful experience ever. Difficult in the beginning because honestly, when you go to an environment like that where other people are also silent internally, not just outside, right?
Right.
Mentally silent. Sometimes your mind is like going all over the place, and it's like, oh my god, like so especially once you like know that you can't speak for 4 days, So it starts to offer some resistance in the beginning, but eventually it calms down. And yeah, it was an amazing experience. I think meditation retreat is something everybody should do at least once
Hmm.
just to see, maybe at least for like 3 to 4 days.
So let's talk about that. Stillness.
Sure.
Stillness is great theoretically, but it's hard. It's hard. A lot of people struggle with it, and I really think that it can explode whatever practice you're in. If you can, it's not even meditation, right? If you just find a way to be still in certain situations, it can. So I wanted to. Have you found benefits from that? Do you just incorporate your stillness with meditation? Do you find times through the day where you remain still? People don't understand why that's important. I've had times when it's almost like it helps you to realize all of the collective thoughts that are going through your head, and your natural little instincts to move, and the uncomfortableness of your body. Uh, is there any for people that say I can't do it? What do you say? I mean, tell me a little bit more about stillness.
For anybody that says I can't do it, it's just you just haven't done it enough. It's
Right.
just like you've only known the opposite of stillness all your life, which is
Hmm.
constant activity. Because here's the thing, like if there's no stillness within right, like your mind is not still,
Hmm.
then your body won't be still and your actions won't be like, it's just going to be constant reflection of that turbulent mind in your life, and even your situations won't be still, like not even
Right.
still, but like peaceful, flowing, harmonious.
Hmm.
So in order to really create that harmony outside, that abundance and well-being and peace outside, it has to begin within.
Right.
Not only for the manifestation purpose of it, but truly, if you ever want to recognize what you truly are beyond this mind more and more, right? That awareness that we speak of all the time,
Hmm.
then stillness is something that's like necessary, because until you're still, you can't really recognize what you are. Until if you're always just thinking and you're always just moving, then your awareness is constantly identified with your thoughts. It's
Hmm.
living through those thoughts, right? Like some people, they say they can't even stay still in their body. It's
Right.
because like their mind needs to find expression so much, right? That they have no control over their mind, and it automatically like expresses through their body,
Hmm.
but they can't even stay still in their body. So obviously stillness is more than just stillness of action, body, mind, right? It's truly within. And anybody
Hmm.
who is struggling with being still, I would kind of recommend, you're having a difficult time being still is because your focus is constantly on the object of your perception, meaning your thought, even your thoughts are objects of your
Right.
perception, right? Like your thought is here, you see it, you perceive your thought, right? There is the knower of thought and there is the thought itself. So it's an object of your perception. You need to start to focus more on what is the subject that is
Hmm.
aware of this thought, right? So instead of, and this is why most people struggle in meditation too, because they're fighting thoughts with other thoughts. They're like trying
Right.
to be still. Don't have to do any of that. Instead of all of that, divert your attention and inquire within. What is it within you that is aware of these thoughts?
Uh,
And try to go to that space within you. Like you could even do it right now. Like what is it that is truly, like what is it within you that you call Brian?
hmm.
Where is this sense of meanness, Brianness coming,
Right.
that is aware of this thought? Like we say, oh, I'm choosing positive thoughts over negative thoughts. Okay, what is the I? What is the me? What is the Brian or Sunny that is choosing the positive or negative thoughts? As soon as we divert our attention to that, automatically you will experience stillness. Now the practice is simply just staying there with that sense of me, the sense of aliveness, the sense of presence, the sense of
Right.
like individuality that you get within this body, right? Just
Right.
staying with it. If you stay with it, there's gonna be very little thought activity. And when it comes around, you simply inquire again, where it's like, okay, these thoughts came back. Okay, what is it that is aware of these thoughts? Rather than just
The
taking the
thought.
thought, putting on the suit of that thought and living and
Right.
expressing through that thought, instead of that, just observe it and be like, okay, what is it that is observing it? We take that for granted. We don't inquire within,
We do.
right? And that's why we just constantly live through these thoughts. We identify with them. So it's just constant coming back to what is it that is aware of these thoughts. And that has been like the most monumental thing in my
Yeah.
spiritual journey, really, really deepening this sense of self.
It's almost premeditation. Still, some level of prolonged period of stillness of 5 to 10 minutes. If you're going to start meditating, I'd say almost before you do that, find a way just to be still, and don't even call it meditation. Now
Yeah,
you
exactly.
could just sit just still. For, for some people, that's the hardest thing. Just stillness
Yeah.
without don't at first don't even worry about the mind. Just sit still, and then after you've gotten to the point where you can sit still, then start being still with your mind, like you said, and all that stuff. Uh, the more I teach this and the more I see this, I think that stillness, there's all these advanced meditations that people can do and stuff, but stillness is a prerequisite almost before any of that.
Yeah, and all of their meditations are secondary. You know, they're amazing. All these guided visualizations, guided
Right.
meditations, they're awesome to really guide you into a different vibration. But still, in order to recognize the awareness that you are, you need just the only meditation that will help you truly do that in a very direct way is putting your awareness on your awareness, becoming aware of what is it that is aware. You
Right.
know, so it's almost like the flashlight that is lighting up all of these objects, right? And you're constantly just looking at the objects, forgetting that there's light that is lighting up all
Right.
these objects. So it's like now figuring out where the light is coming from, and that will deepen. So that's where I was talking. We were talking about before, going within, and then naturally this understanding of life and reality dawning upon you more and more.
Yeah.
That's truly like, you know, experientially, that's what I'm feeling. It's the more you go in, the more you access that stillness, the more naturally not just things work out in your life, but also just like the greater understanding of these concepts, these teachings start to just naturally be integrated into your
Yeah.
experience, which is so beautiful.
So I just did an episode. I want to break this down with you. Um, we've talked about all these different subjects, and you see it mentioned on the transurfing group and in other groups. Everybody wants their own little pendulum. There's the law of attraction pendulum, the reality transurfing pendulum, the Neville Goddard. And I'm finding consistencies with all this stuff. So let's integrate some of this stuff together. People may think, oh, he's Neville Goddard, so he's not transurfing anymore. Or you see somebody post law of attraction is totally, it's not even close to as good as reality transurfing. So fundamentally, I think that this stuff is linked together, and they all can provide benefit. And pulling it together can be a benefit to us. By focusing on one theory or one thing, you end up losing some powerful techniques and ideas. So the reason that you and I have really started to explore Neville Goddard, so his teachings seem in some ways simplistic, but what is it that pulled you to Neville Goddard, that inspired you about his teachings, first of all?
Um, one of my one of my viewers that I connect with on Instagram, she actually
Mhm.
recommended Neville Goddard to me. So we used to have a dialogue, you know, just sharing things back and forth. And she recommended Neville Goddard to me, and she's like, "There's no way you don't know about Neville." She's like, you
Right.
know, it's like his teachings are so simple, yeah, like they almost like are the source of transurfing, if anything. So, you know, I was
Yeah.
just, then I checked it out, and I remember like making a few videos on it, like after I started to practice, and like really, like the teachings definitely connected with me. The lectures, the way they're presented,
Hmm.
um, the stories that he shares, it's really powerful. The way, like, you know, just the way the teaching comes across, very authentic, very original. So, you know, when I started practicing it and started to make YouTube videos about it, definitely the viewers also really connected with it. So just been
Hmm.
like exploring it more and more. But yeah, absolutely. Like I do believe that it's the same stuff as transurfing. Like, and it's like really the essence of transurfing is the same stuff as the essence of law of attraction. All of these teachings, they have the same, they're pointing to the same truth, right? So the problem is only for a person who becomes too attached to a certain teaching. Like I know a lot of the Neville viewers, they're very, very attached to Neville himself.
Right.
And I do get, you know, some criticism from these viewers as well. Sometimes some like questions about why even explore transurfing and things like that. And my answer is always this: it's like your journey will take you to whatever teaching that you need to hear at this time, right? Allow your journey to do that. You don't need to
Yeah. Right.
actively seek for what the newest teaching or whatever. Your journey will take care of that. Life will give you that. Now your job is to go through these teachings and not attach yourself to a teacher or the teaching, but rather your job is to simply recognize the truth that those teachers and
Yes.
teachings are pointing to, and let go of the teachers and teachings.
Hmm.
Whereas most people like on this journey, that, you know, it's like we start to identify as being spiritual, or like being trend surfers or whatever and whatever. It's like
Right.
that stuff is only going to weigh you down. Look at the truth that is being pointed to, apply it, recognize it, like truly live it,
Hmm.
and allow the journey to take you to the next teacher or whatever you need to hear. And that's like, so, it's like there's no argument between any teachings. And
Right.
it's like you shouldn't ever limit yourself to one. Just allow your journey to do it, and then just continue to recognize the truth instead of just, okay, this is the teacher, this is
You're right.
everything, I'm
Well,
gonna
he
give
was
my all to
teaching how to do target slides, basically. How to
that. Yeah.
do properly do target slides coming from the wish fulfilled, a process of visualization that's very effective. Uh, all, so law of attraction, and this is another law of attraction is still in many ways for me is kind of like a source code to what's underlying everything that's going on. And then reality transurfing kind of works to me like a program that we can use to apply law of attraction, because law of attraction, though sounds simple, it can be very complicated in the effects that occur as you start to apply the way your thoughts affect reality. So it's not the only way, but it's a very powerful way if you apply it. Does that sound that
100%. I think like
right?
I totally agree. And then yeah, transurfing, at least in my experience so far, is the most thorough explanation of how reality works and how you can influence reality. The most thorough
Hmm.
explanation. I don't trust me. Like I don't think there's anything that comes close to how well it is explained
Exactly.
for a logical mind, right? So a lot of people that may
Hmm.
just like connect with Neville's teachings right away, and that's great and all. But like if you truly are like coming from a very materialist background, like a scientific sort of background, very like logical thinking mind, then
Exactly. It's
truly
for the
helps you make sense
scientist,
of everything.
kind of.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. You get people that are overanalyzing everything, and they can't, but then they get to transurfing and it gives them a model to apply some of these subjects. I mean,
You know,
what's that?
sorry about that. So obviously, like a lot of these discussions that I see going on, I think half of these discussions would fade away instantly if all of these um, teachings were also being supplemented with meditation. I think there's a lack of clarity in this field of
Yeah,
reality creation because people are wanting to learn, they want to read the books, they want to watch the videos,
right,
they even want to apply the teachings. That's beautiful. But they're not meditating and they're not
right.
recognizing the significance of meditation or just stillness or whatever. And through it, they're not integrating all of these concepts properly. And so it's just like going from one teaching to the next, which is not going to serve you as much if you just intellectually
Right.
understand it. It's truly about knowing that this is how life works rather than
I've
understanding.
tried to create meditations after I do a teaching around the concept, because that's how I learn. I need to meditate. You know, if we're going to talk about the wave of fortune, let's meditate on that and get the concept of it. I agree with you 100%. It's easy to talk about this stuff. There's people that are experts that can quote reality transurfing that have not created the reality even close to what, because they're in the book and th're not in the experience. Uh,
Yeah, I think you could always see like how well you know the concepts by seeing a certain phase in your life where you're wanting to do something, like where you're fearful about it, where maybe you have to put yourself on the edge, you have to venture off into uncertainty. Your willingness to go into it, your willingness to like actually go through that journey and maintain the balance that we speak of all the time, like
mhm.
all those principles, if you're doing those well, then you're truly experientially applying all of these teachings. If you see yourself constantly holding back, or if you see yourself constantly reacting negatively to things, if you see yourself, like not feeling free,
Mhm.
then there's a sign that okay, you understand these teachings intellectually, but they still have to be, integrated into your experience.
Integrated. Right. So a couple of things I've noticed a pattern in coaching, and I wanted, as one of the best coaches out there, I wanted to run this by you, and that we
Appreciate
can
that.
mastermind this. So I get clients that are I remember there's an Abraham teaching where she's saying there's the car at the top of the hill in San Francisco going down that steep drive, and there's nothing that you can do to stop it. Just wait till the car crashes, and that's just going to be how it is. That's how reality is sometimes. You should have been manifesting way before then, but by the time the car's going down the hill, it's too late. So we get a lot of clients that hey, I'm about to declare bankruptcy tomorrow, or I'm $200,000 in debt. Can I fix this right now? And so there's got to be something we can do, because I feel that I've been there. I've been in that moment where I'm in the car and it's going down and there's no way I can stop it. So when, what is it, what is a way that we can help those people, the people, if you jump off the building, you can try to manifest some kind of cushion on the way on the down, but it just doesn't work like that. So you know what I mean? So it's frustrating when you get that person that they've manifested to the point where they just got to go through it, and it's going to work to their advantage. But it's something that's frustrating with me, and maybe I'm not coaching it right, or I'm not dealing with it correctly. Do you understand what I'm trying to talk about?
Are you
It's a
saying like when a person has built up a significant amount of negative momentum?
major excess potential, major negative momentum. Um, how do we coach somebody out of that? Because there's got to be a way, and we can't hope for miracles, right? Um, so
I would say don't hope for miracles, but definitely expect them, or be open to them. However, on a very practical sense, right? Like,
mhm,
because a lot of people, including myself and yourself, like we've all experienced certain situations where we're so like deep into it, and there's truly like, man, how am I actually gonna get out of here? Like, I don't see any way, or like, it's just
right.
like, or if it was a way, then it's gonna take forever. um, that's when you got to stop projecting this time and this journey, and truly come to first come to acceptance of this present moment. And I know
Mhm,
it's so cliche, but like, you really cannot embark on a positive journey while resisting what is in the now. um, you have to understand that the contents of the present moment don't define life, right? Life is not defined by the contents of the present moment, but life is defined as the present moment. Like, it
right.
is the present moment. There is no life in whatever you're projecting right now, right? It is all just projection. Past, future, right now is just projection.
Mhm,
Life is only here. And what is here is your reflection. It is you right now. Whatever is in your awareness is you. So look at it like that. And now you have a decision to make. It's like, are you going to resist yourself? Are you going to fight against what is already here, the contents of this moment, or are you going to at least just come to acceptance for it, and just for the now?
mhm.
I always say that to anybody that I'm working with. I'm just like, just for this moment, can you just not try to change anything? Just for this moment, don't project even 5 minutes from now. Just for this moment, can you just for this moment, can you stop judging this moment as a negative or positive? Just for this moment, can you just ease that part of you that wants to just flee or change something,
Mhm.
right? When you actually like recognize the present moment, away from all your judgments and labels, there's something in you eases up a little bit.
Right.
And that is that very ease, that very sense of relief, that very surrender, that is your ticket out of this. But you don't recognize that in your mental resistance when you're constantly labeling and judging and trying to
Exactly.
fight against it. So yes, no matter how much negative momentum you have built, or how much like how fresh it is, whatever, like if it's not even that much, right? It has to start with just the recognition of life here in the now, and acceptance of whatever is here in the now. And then truly taking it moment by moment while feeling at ease. The more you feel at ease, in other words, the more you're surrendering to life. People don't like that terminology because it's like, oh, I don't want to surrender. But it's like, truly,
Right. Yeah.
when you're relaxed, you're surrendered. Anytime you're not relaxed, when you feel it like, oh my God, like I want to change, that's when you're truly like as a separate personal self trying to fight against life. The more
Mhm.
you relax, the more you're surrendered, and the more you moment by moment, life will reflect that more and more. Your internal state will always be reflected in the outside. So no matter how hectic and unfathomable your situation is in terms of like, how am I going to get out of this? Ways will present themselves, means will present themselves if you inside feel relaxed and have the willingness to focus on what you do want to create. And just moment by moment, if you take that journey, no matter how long it takes, right? Like, you're going to have to live from here on out anyway. So you might as well do this, something that actually works, rather than constantly
Right.
create more friction. So yeah, that's my advice, taking it moment by moment, but always like checking in with yourself. Are you feeling at ease? Are you truly feeling that peace, that non-judgmental peace? And through that, take action. Through that, do whatever, because it
How
will
do you
yield.
coach somebody, or recommend what is the best way to ignore the present to ignore the world that you're in now? Because some people you talk to, they may be in a country where it's really bad, or they're in a family situation that's really bad. We see hundreds of videos on YouTube talk about it. I think it's important, and I've definitely had to deal with certain clients, and um, it's all words in many ways. But is there techniques or tricks that you can use to ignore the outside world a little bit, but stay in the present moment at the same time?
I think in this, if you use techniques or tools, you're always going to like end up maybe faking it for a little while and
Right.
failing. Because I don't think it's about ignoring what's here, but rather recognizing that it does not define you. Recognizing that what you are is greater than this reality, this situation. So this
Right.
goes back into that meditation and self-inquiry, right? You can only have that greater perspective, and if you learn to detach from your personal self, from your judgments, from this
Right.
identity that you've created, if you're actually doing the meditation and the self inquiry, and doing that on a
Hmm.
consistent basis, raising your awareness. So
Right.
my what I always say to describe my program, the coaching program, is like create the life you truly want to live through a higher consciousness mindset. And this is what I mean. So there's a difference between creating from this person perspective, fighting thoughts with thoughts, and just constantly just trying to like change your reality from this person, this believing that this person, Sunny, is creating life.
Right.
A higher consciousness perspective to me is recognizing that what I refer to when I say I is actually greater than this person.
Hmm.
We maybe fail to recognize that because we don't inquire within our true nature. But when you try to really when you start to detach from this person, so if your sense of self started to detach from Brian and started to identify more with that awareness
Hmm.
within which this entire experience is, that unbiased, like that awareness that nothing in this current situation is touching, nothing is obstructing that awareness.
Right.
That awareness has no opinions, it has no judgments, it has no labels. Once you start to identify and rest more and more over there and live
Hmm.
through that perspective, then it actually becomes more possible for you to change the contents within this awareness. But if you are identified as this personal self, then you're going to be, so it's almost like the example that I give, like it's identifying with the movie character. If you're fully like, have you lost sense of yourself as the watcher of the movie, and you're identified with the movie character,
Hmm.
and when the movie character goes through a struggle, you're going to be completely distraught. You're going to have no, like ability to be positive. When the movie character goes through a good time, then you're good. So it's like you're completely swaying with the movie character's world. You're completely controlled by the plot of the movie,
Right.
having no recognition of what you actually are, the
Hmm.
detached observer. So this process of creating your own reality to me is truly about recognizing that you are not this movie character at an actual experiential level, not just as a belief or a thought.
Hmm.
Really recognizing that, and through it, directing your different movie if you choose to. And you can only actually ignore your current movie if you realize at a deeper level that you are not this movie character, that you are something greater. Only then can you feel at ease, even when maybe you're in the middle of a war zone or something like that.
Right.
So it's all about having this greater understanding rather than looking for like tools and techniques to put like a band-aid on a much bigger problem. Does
That is a perfect
that make sense?
explanation. I think that should help a lot of people. So, have you have some questions on your group? I asked them if they had any questions. So, first of all, Rosita wanted to ask what is the most difficult, challenging concept for reality transurfing for you?
Oh, for me to
Yeah.
understand or to.
What concept in reality transurfing is the most difficult? I mean, if I try to answer that, it's not really difficult in terms of understanding. It's just difficult in terms of application sometimes, or remembering. I don't think that reality transurfing is difficult, and I think that maybe comes from the idea. But is there anything that you've been challenged by in applying the principles of transurfing?
I think for anybody in terms of reality transurfing, the hardest thing to ever grasp will always be outer intention. That's just, because it's
Right.
outer intention is something that cannot even be defined. So it's like the mind will always try to itch away at it, but it's like it's always going to fall short. The most you can do is truly just like align your energies in a way that allows the most amount of outer intention, to be in harmony with
Right.
that. However, in terms of like, so that's something that I definitely like, kind of struggled with in the beginning, but then eventually I just
Right.
like flowed at ease with it and started to recognize it more and more through meditation. But in
Is
terms
outer
of,
intention God?
I would say it's like the will of the higher self or awareness or God,
Okay.
right? So when I talk about like detaching from this personal self and recognizing yourself as that awareness, that's what outer intention, that's where our attention really
Right.
is. It's alignment with the universal law. Whereas your inner intention is like you believing that you're this little person and you're trying to create things through this little person, with your
Right.
personal will. So it's the personal will versus like the will of God, you can say, the will of awareness. Um, so that's my understanding as of now. But in terms of like other concepts that I think were difficult for me that I had to read a couple of times, and it's something difficult to integrate is alternatives flow, right? Going
Hmm.
with the flow is a very misunderstood topic, and it's a topic that you'll never truly understand if once you start to actually until you start to apply it and really gain that balance yourself. Because I've gone through things where I've like really fought against the flow and created a
Hmm.
lot of friction, and then the complete opposite where I've like completely just surrendered to the flow and then not really um, done what I
Exactly.
wanted to do,
Sometimes you're going
right?
with the
So
flow. Feels like you're going with the flow, but it kind of just you meander off into a different part of the river that took you on some outlet.
exactly. So and you have to allow that to happen for both, like for your
Right.
journey, you have to find your own balance through experience. No matter how many videos about you watch about it, you're not going to be able to go with the flow until you practice it. But yeah, the alternative flow, truly integrating that into your experience is probably the most difficult thing, I think. But like if you do so, everything else will truly take care of itself. Like if you have the vision, if you have the willingness, if you go with the flow, everything takes care of itself, 100%.
So
Being
my best understanding of alternatives flow is it's the easier way for you to realize your intention. There's always an easier path, right? You can usually get to your attention if you fight sometimes, but the alternatives flow is the easy way that will carry you along. See, am I right? Uh,
I would say the most harmonious way.
the most
Like it may
harmonious?
not be easy in terms of like work, right?
Right, right.
You may still have to work, you may still have to put effort in and all that stuff, but it's going to be the easiest and the most joyful way. So that's like it's coming back
Hmm.
right to what we talked about before. Feeling at ease, feeling truly surrendered, you will allow yourself to go moment by moment, and then the
Hmm.
flow will take care of you. Like the flow will reflect back to you your state. So the only two things that you always need to be concerned about, or really monitor while going with the flow, is number one, your focus, right? What you're focused on and how you're focused on it, in what way, in a positive way or a negative way.
Hmm.
And then second is your state of being in this moment, how you feel. If you feel like you're struggling, like there's like a struggle, you're resisting, then the flow will reflect that back to you. So from here on out, right, nothing is determined where your life unfolds. So it's like moment by moment, all that is determined. What is coming next is determined by what you're focused on right now and how you feel. So a large part of going with the flow is truly always feeling surrendered, at ease,
Hmm.
and then focusing on what you do want. If you do so, your doors will continue to open, like truly, and like you will just continue to take action. So it's a balance between surrendering to the flow and always maintaining that willingness to always also keep moving forward and
Right.
taking action.
So since we talked, I think that when we first had our first interview, it was right when Tufti had come out, I think.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So we were just saying, oh, there's this plot thing. We were talking about it like kind of like little kids learning how to walk, right? So we can now compare our experiences. I almost want to do, since I've been doing these interviews, I've almost asked everybody about the plat. So I want to compile all these together, and I'm going to compile what you said here now, because I think that there is a phenomenon. Like there's, first of all, the question, is there the plat, or is this something, if we understand reality creation, did Zealand create this and now it's become a tool for us to use? Or was it there all along and we didn't know until 2018, right? 2019, that there's this plat. So how often have you used the plat? Have you noticed, have you learned anything along the way? Now that we have developed in the use of this, can we expand and make a more advanced understanding of the plat? I just wanted to get your vibe on that.
That was something I was curious about too. I remember like last time we spoke, was it like, is this an actual thing or is it just
Right.
something that the demon is actually tricking his viewers into believing not for like just to mess with them, but like actually for a good reason. As you, if you've read Transurfing, you read in the intention chapter that even things like rituals and like objects of rituals only get the meaning that you give them, and they're only so effective because of the meaning that you give to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, you know, even people like in terms of like creating certain things, or like creating certain effects or miracles or whatever, they use certain objects because there's so much collective meaning in that, that
Right.
okay, this will make that thing possible, this will make it effective. So it could certain, like, honestly, I still haven't found my answer, but I don't think it's important. It could certainly be a thing, right? Like I know like there's I know you had a discussion in both your group and my group, I think, about like the origin of it, or like in terms of Carlos Castaneda, he mentioned something along the lines of it.
Right.
Or it could totally be a fabrication, but because everybody is giving so much significance to the plate and
Mm-hmm.
thinking that, okay, because I'm doing this exercise, my visualization is going to become real, it's going to have that effect too.
Exactly.
So
So
it
I think
doesn't,
it's a
so
net benefit no
exactly,
matter what.
exactly. As a
Do
reader of
you
Tufti,
feel the
you shouldn't be
plaque?
concerned.
Do you feel it?
No, I do not. I
Okay.
never did. I always say, like, I did make some videos about it, and even within which I did mention, like, you know, experiment with this, see, you know, how results
Right.
you get. I just described the technique itself. It's something that I used to practice when I was reading Tufti in the beginning a lot. I've since then ventured off, because now I've realized that I'm I prefer like visualization, just, you know, just
Right.
doing it without the plate, and doing it with the sense. So this is something I discussed on my channel, which is like, to make your visualization really effective, visualize it like truly like bring the nowness, like
The
the
nowness.
moment, the present moment feel to that visualization. It sounds very basic, but it's very deep. Like, because if you think about it, the only thing that is going to be similar between your current reality and your desired reality is this feeling that it is happening right now.
Right.
Nothing else will be the same, you know? So it's like, bring the only thing that is similar between the two things into, you know, bring that into your
Yeah.
experience of that visualization. So that's something that I've been really experimenting with, but the plate up kind of like left a little bit.
That's kind of what Neville is talking about when he's talking.
Exactly.
And so let me throw this theory out. I want to bounce it off you and see if, and obviously we're not going to answer the questions of the universe, but if there's these parallel universes, thousands of different parallel universes going along, and if we sit and we imagine in the moment right now, this is happening. It's like we're on the boat and we're moving the boat along to that parallel reality. It's like, oh, we're shining a beacon of light towards that one that actually exists, because it does exist right now. Our brain is not just imagining it, it's accessing that place that exists right now. And so by doing that, by doing these, we're moving ourselves towards a timeline where it exists. And as we continue to we get closer and closer to that energy, and that's what it feels like sometimes to me. Like when I understand parallel universes and what reality transurfing, we're not just like artists creating some reality out of our mind because we're so creative. We're actually accessing with our imagination something that's real, that's in a real reality that's existing in this moment right now. And by closing our eyes, we have access to all these realities. So by accessing it, we're moving the boat towards that little reality. And maybe momentary and the boat will go back. But if we keep going and we keep rowing, we get closer and closer to where that actually exists. We're just shining a light to. What is that? Does that sound reasonable to you, or am I crazy?
To understand parallel realities, recently the way I've been trying to explain it is like, first, becoming more clear about who is the we that is actually shifting to a parallel reality, right?
Right.
If we think that it's like, okay, this body is going to a different parallel reality, then that wouldn't be as accurate. Whereas like when you close your eyes and go within, what are you actually accessing is you're actually becoming more able to detach again from the person,
Right.
and being more that awareness within which, let's just say, your entire experience is being projected right now, your entire current reality is being projected in this sphere of awareness. That's what I'm actually signaling to with the
Right.
hands. But okay, so it's like the sphere within which your current reality exists, including your person. So let's just say like little Brian is right here.
Right. Right.
This is his world. So so it's you now recognizing that you are this awareness, and then now imagining, right? Like imagining whatever else. So this is like your current world, your current movie, and now within the sphere contains the potential of whatever movie
Right.
that you conceive, right? Like, and all parallel realities, you can say. So it's basically by imagining, you're using your ability to connect with that version, right? And now trying to project that in your sphere of awareness.
Right.
And so it's like that reality will include a different Brian, right? Different body, mind, body, different world. But who shifted the parallel reality, right? It's not the, or there was no shifting. It was just a
Right.
different projection within the same potential, which is now, which is the present moment, which is you, the awareness.
It's the awareness.
So,
The most fundamental part of this is it's my awareness, what I see and feel right now. All those other Brians are just zombies without awareness. So but my point is that those realities actually may exist. When we move into that timeline, it's already built up and perfectly made for us, but we're just moving our awareness to that reality, right? Is that what you're kind of saying? We're moving and shifting our awareness. Now, if it's the future, it could be just an information grid, but it helps to think of it as actually existing. It exists in the alternative space,
yeah,
but
that's
it's
definitely a beneficial way of looking at it, because that will help you truly, like, continue to look at it in a positive way, an
right,
empowering way. Yeah.
right. All right, so that helps a lot. So has there been any new material or stuff that you've accessed since we last spoke that has really inspired you that you'd like to talk about?
Yeah, and actually, always also keep this one around me, and I've promoted this on my channel a lot. This is "Who Am I" by Sri Ramana Maharshi.
He's
This
awesome.
little 16-page book
Yeah.
will help you deepen your understanding like nothing else. So anybody that's watching this, please go buy this on Amazon. It's only $3, and
Okay.
you can literally read it in about half an hour, not even. But like, obviously, it's something that you should continuously read, because it's the deepest stuff you'll actually find. So
Awesome.
Sri Ramana Maharshi teaches the most direct method to self-realization. He teaches
All right.
the most direct method to recognizing the awareness that already is you, but is
Mm-hmm.
currently falsely identified with the mind and body. And so when we talk about enlightenment and self-realization, we think that these are some crazy events that have to happen, and that they're so far beyond our reach, our lifetime, but they're not.
Right.
Enlightenment is simply the recognition of what you actually are, rather than being identified with what you're not. And so it's possible for everybody right here and now.
Mm-hmm.
And so Sri Ramana Maharshi, this is basically his entire teaching, very simplified into this 16, 17 pages. But there's also books like Be As You Are that will help you
Right.
get a more conceptual framework around his teachings. But it's really that process of self-inquiry, constantly letting go of the focus of objects, focus on objects,
Mm-hmm.
and replacing that with inquiring, what is it that is doing the focusing? So
Mm-hmm.
in this way, you're not looking for awareness objectively,
Mm-hmm.
because it's almost like there's this quote by St. Francis, I think. He said that in meditation or in self-inquiry, what you're looking for is actually where you're looking from. And because that's the case, you think it's hard to find, but it's already where you're looking from. So
Ah.
this God, or this enlightenment, or this awareness that you're trying to raise or become, it's actually where you're already looking from. But
Mm-hmm.
because you constantly are looking for it like an object, like, oh, I can describe it, I can be like, it's over there, that's why you fail to find it. Sri Ramana said that, like, it's almost like the eyes that can look at everything, but they cannot see themselves, right? Or the
Right.
because they're one. Or the weight scale, the scale that can weigh so many things, but it cannot weigh itself,
Right.
right? Same thing with the flashlight. It can light up everything, but it cannot light itself up. So self-inquiry is the process of diverting your focus away from objects, also thoughts. Thoughts are just
Mm-hmm.
objects of experience, to directing that to what is it that is doing the focusing? What is it that is aware of this?
Mm-hmm.
And the more, he said, that you do this, the more you isolate your awareness like this, just by itself, away from all objects, the more you will start to recognize the false self, right?
Mm-hmm.
The
Right.
false identification, this ego identification. And the more you will start recognizing what you truly are. And you're going to stay there more and more. Through that, you'll be able to actually create what you do want through that higher consciousness perspective that I was talking about before.
Right. So I love that. some other questions before we miss them here. Let's see here. Is humor mind or awareness, Sonny? First of all, when I was talking to Frederick Dotson and I asked him how we judge gurus, one of the things he said is, do they have a sense of humor? So I found that interesting. So, and you have a sense of humor, but how do we, humor, is it an energy that comes in? Is it mind or awareness? That's what Sharon asked. So
It's mind. All thought is mind. But your ability to have humor within a life full of like like all these supposed limitations and
right,
restrictions implies awareness, wisdom, freedom. So it is awareness in a way.
it is
So it's a mix of awareness and
right.
mind.
So another question, and I talked about it a little bit with Quasi, but I'm interested in your is karma. Is karma affecting what we're able to do in this life? Is it only in this life, or people will say, oh, I must have done something so terrible in my past life and I'm just being punished now? Do you think that's going on? What is your conception of karma?
I think karma is very misunderstood in that way.
Yeah.
I haven't studied karma too much, so
Okay.
I honestly don't know exactly what it is. I have, because again, I like to keep my journey very conceptless, like as clear
I
and
get
clean as
that.
I
Yeah.
can keep it. I like to do that. But in terms of karma, I believe that it is just your doing, it's your action. It's the reaction that you're setting off right now in this present moment, which the reactions of you will also feel in this present moment, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And the goal is to not worry about what may have happened in the past or what is the cause of what you're suffering right now, but rather you in this moment align your actions to awareness rather than person, oneness rather than separation. The more you make the drive and the fuel of how you are being right now and what you're doing right now, the more you make your fuel of that for that this sense of love and oneness rather than this sense of selfishness, separation, and like accumulation, all that stuff. The more you do
Right.
that, the more you will purify your karma, and the more you will, because karma is one way. Karma yoga is one way to also recognize the self, and the
Mm-hmm.
path of karma yoga is to, the one of selfless action, the one of action derived from love, oneness, rather than this constant um, sense of I'm the separate mind and body in this big world, and I have to, accumulate and avoid and accumulate. So
Yeah.
I think my take on karma is very simple. Don't worry about all that stuff. But in this moment, how are you being? What are
Right.
you doing? What is the motive behind it, right? What is the fuel behind it? Is it pure? Is it loving? Is it
Right.
generous? Is it harmonious? If it is, then continue moving on.
It's interesting in Sadhguru's book, Mystic's Musings. He actually says that once you have no karma, that you leave, that like there's some yogi in the end of the book that purposely is creating karma so he can stay alive. Like he'll tell his wife to go get some food for him, something really subtle, and they're like, why is he doing this? Because he realizes that if once he's neutral with karma, that he's gone. I was like, what a crazy concept. I don't know if that's
Yeah, something like yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Is that karma is what continues to make physical existence relevant for you.
right.
So it is the only thing that allows you to be to also be interacting on this physical level. So I remember I read something along those lines from Sadhguru as well. But definitely now that like you said it, it kind of helped me
Right.
actually.
I still don't comprehend that, but I kind of do in concept. But like you said, maybe that's a concept that that I don't need to explore at this point. Let's see what else we got. Um, the next thing, since we're talking about Neville and we're talking about transurfing, a lot of the Neville Goddard pendulum will go on, hey, I want to find that specific person. When I've read more than 20% of his lectures live on my show, and he has not referred to a specific person yet. It may be in the true, and I still got lots of lectures to go, but it seems to be an obsession in the Neville Goddard community. I'm not defining all of it, but then there in transurfing is this wonderfully very powerful concept of frailing. And I've had people say, well, that contradicts. Frailing contradicts. So let's talk about this. To me, frailing is a technique. Once you kind of forget about yourself a little bit and start focusing on other people and what their intentions are, you'll find that they're going to be a lot more interested, and you'll end up creating and maintaining better relationships. And if you want to find your specific person, frail them, right? That will be more effective than you sitting and trying to manipulate them through your manifestations. What is your opinion on the dichotomy between those two, and your take?
Think about what frailing requires you to do. It
Uh-huh.
requires you to detach from the person you believe yourself to be
Right.
and actually care about your existence, right? The person that is in your awareness, a different person that is in your awareness, or whatever else exists in your awareness. So see, right there, then and there, Vadim is using a technique to help you detach your
Right.
awareness from this mind and body identity that you believe yourself to be, to go into that greater perspective of that awareness within which
Exactly.
your entire experience, including that other person, exists. So it's like once you start to ease yourself off of from that perspective and start to care more about what something else within your awareness cares about and tries to, provide that for them, naturally also it brings flow into your personal experience as well. So frilling is a 100% valid technique, and it only takes a couple of tries and practices to actually
Right.
experientially feel this. I'm sure you know. But absolutely, I think in terms of the Neville Goddard teachings, it doesn't contradict anything.
Yeah.
Again, frailing aligns you with the truth of natural law, right? So Neville is pointing to the same thing. I don't know exactly. I haven't listened to a lot of specific lectures on it. As you said,
I,
he just doesn't mention
I'm
it.
sure
But
I'll
I know
get
it's
to
so
them. I'll,
big
I'll
on
let
this
you know when I
community.
find one. So.
I know it's so big in this community, and I think like a lot of people are kind of like misunderstanding the teachings and applying it to this like
Right.
specific person thing. It's like too big of a concept, and I mean a thing on YouTube even. I always say, like, I always ask the people who are like want to manifest someone specific. It's like, okay, are you communicating your intentions to this person clearly, right? Like your intention to want to be in a relationship with
Do
them.
they even
Always
know?
the answer is
Right.
no.
They
Always the
haven't
answer
even
is no.
talked. So I've talked to
Like
people that they haven't even talked to them or ever met them.
exactly.
And they're
So
hoping that
things
they
like
just magically show
that.
up.
Exactly. So there's, and then I'll ask like, okay, then why is that? And then there's usually always some like sort of, again, mental reason, right? Like some sort of mind-made resistance or reason, some sense of like not wanting to be perceived incorrectly or putting yourself on the line. So it all comes back to just all that work that you need to do on yourself to
Right.
internally feel secure, to get to a point. I always say to anybody who really wants to manifest a relationship where it's like, get to a point internally where you feel so good, secure by yourself that you don't feel a need for a relationship.
Hmm.
Only in that energy where you truly are loving being by yourself, enjoying using that time to really like grow your own virtues, grow your own strength, work on your passion. Only in that loving energy can a relationship actually come into your life that you can actually make beneficial, that can actually really work out for in a really positive way.
Hmm.
Because even if you do manifest that specific person in the
Right.
energy of like, oh, I need this person, I'm nothing without him,
Right.
that relationship will become the very source of your future misery,
Exactly.
because you haven't learned to truly love yourself yet, to be with yourself and truly, radiate that sense of security yet. And you're deriving that from another person, from a relationship. So it's always going to work against you. But I say, yes, go for that person, but like then communicate clearly and then also work on yourself in the meantime and be open to any outcome.
Right.
And don't ever place your sense of happiness and well-being in another person so strongly. Don't be ever attached to one person so strongly ever, in my
Right.
opinion.
Yeah. 99% of it is not manifestation. It's you going up and just introducing yourself and saying, "Hi,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
interested. Can we go on a
Which
date?"
also is
Some.
manifestation. That's the thing. That is also manifestation.
Right. Right.
It's all process. It's happening through you.
It's
So it's
happening
like
through you.
reach out to them, be clear in your communication. like see what they would also like and things like that.
Right.
Don't be in your head projecting all of this stuff, but not actually acting on it and doing what's necessary.
All right. Some other crazy topics. We'll just keep going, maybe unrelated. Let's see.
Yeah.
Something that Quasi's starting to talk about that I have not talked about on my channel, but it's interesting, is semen retention, the whole idea of sexual energy. I noticed that he's been popping some videos on that. So uh, I don't, I know that the Napoleon Hill talked about like a sexual transmutation of energy. It is an energy of creativity. Uh, what's your take on that?
Absolutely. And I came across this in Think and Grow Rich too when I read it for the first time. It was a
Yeah,
very unexplored topic at that time, but ever since then, there's been countless videos on it and everything like that. And I do believe so, yes. The more you retain your energy, and it's also in a lot of yogic practices as well,
right.
you can redirect that energy towards your passion, towards what you're creating, towards a greater heightened sense of focus, of awareness. So it's really just redirecting that energy for more creative purposes rather than, just like for wasteful purposes.
All right.
But absolutely, yeah, like he's been going a lot deeper into that, and that's awesome. I think
Yeah.
more awareness on the subject is what is necessary, more clarity again. I think also that as the bigger the topic gets, the more lack of clarity it also gets. I think because a lot of
Right.
people start giving their opinions and, it kind of misconstrue. But it's good. I think anytime I see a person who actually has some sort of clarity kind of explore certain topics, I'm like, okay, good. They're going to bring clarity into the space.
So another thing that I still am fascinated by is the mirror concept. In Neville Goddard, they talk about the whole world is you pushed out, which is another way of saying that you're seeing a reflection of yourself in the world around you. Maybe some people take that teaching and say it's everybody is you pushed out. Well, that may be true. You're bringing people into your life that are reflected by you. But the more that I apply the mirror techniques, the more amazing it is. Very surreal. And so a fellow traveler, I wanted to see how maybe you had gamed the mirror or anything that you had come up with in applying the mirror principle.
The mirror principle is beautiful because it always allows you to seek the lesson from your current experience rather than judging the current experience. So first off, like before we even get into like how to manipulate the mirror to actually get what you want,
Right.
is like, okay, learn to recognize what the mirror is teaching you right now. So again,
Hmm.
it's not everybody in this is this person pushed out. This person itself is also you pushed out. What is the real you? It's that awareness, right? So it's
Hmm.
like what
It's that
your awareness
awareness.
identified with right now, the belief, the self-image, all that, all those thoughts, whatever is identified with right now is what is being projected within this sphere. So that is whatever is being projected within your awareness, right? That person over there, whose awareness are they in right now? I'm not saying that's the only thing that exists. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I'm saying whose awareness are they in right now? Yours. That thing over, like those mountains over there, whose awareness are they in right now? Yours.
Yours.
So in that way, everything is you pushed out. Whereas like that, it's within your sphere of consciousness, your
Right.
bubble. So everything here is reflecting to you the nature of the stuff that you've identified with. So the experiences happening to you, the people coming into your life will always reflect back to you certain qualities about yourself. And they could teach you a lot about yourself. So I always look at, right, like all the relationships in my life, all the things happening in terms of business or,
Hmm.
YouTube channel, anything like that. I always try to seek that experience where it's like, okay, if I'm getting this response from this situation, this response from this person, what could that be maybe hinting to me about myself that I need to transcend?
Hmm.
And certain times, like it'll be certain things that maybe it's just a trigger that you have to transcend, like something that you're sensitive about yourself that some people keep pointing out. Let's just say like you're insecure about, like a very general sense, someone's insecure about their weight or something like that, right? And like someone in their external life pokes fun at them, and they're gonna like misunderstand this mirror principle where it's like this person's being mean to me, but I'm not mean to people. But that's not really what it's all about. It's almost like,
Right.
okay, if this person's poking you about like your weight or something, see within you, right? Go inquire within. Is this like what could this be teaching me about myself? Is this person is actually poking fun at this, or is this person treating me in this way? Am I treating myself in this way? Or like, what do I
Right.
think about this? So it's certain like that. So you have to have that perspective in terms of gaining that lesson, but it
Hmm.
always teaches you what you need to learn. Now, in terms of creating what you want, the mirror will always reflect the energy, right? The thoughts, emotions, the beliefs that you're identified with, you as an awareness. And so if you truly start to believe and you start to act the role of who you want to grow into, who you want to become, if you start to stay consistent with that on a day-to-day basis, as you've seen like throughout my journey, throughout your journey,
Hmm.
the more you stay consistent, the more you start to embody the role of, let's just say in our case, the YouTuber or the coach or the person for providing these content, the more life will give you what you need and reflect back to you that, yes, you are this role, you are this person, you are living this life, and things in the external circumstances will change. The people that you need to support you will come through for you.
Hmm.
The resources, the money, everything starts to happen. So all of that is simply external, including this person that you become is also external. It is just a reflection. Whereas the thoughts, emotions, the beliefs that you're identified with, the self-image that you have of yourself is the internal. And
Hmm.
you are the awareness, which is flowing in, like really
Right.
identifying with all of that stuff.
Well, it just makes every single belief very important because whatever I believe is going to be reflected. If I start
Exactly.
going into my horoscope, then I'm going to see that reflected. What do you think that we could scientifically, as transferers, figure out the exact delay between the movement to the reflection? Is it always different? Is outer
I,
intention purposely making it a little bit random, or is it 6 months? Is it the amount of energy that we put in? Is there some way for us to define when the reflection comes back?
that's a really cool question, actually. I don't think so. It will always be different for every single person, and it's always going to be dependent on your inner conviction that it
Right.
is so.
If there was
Like with the
some way we
intention.
could make it in a science in a lab. All right, you're going to have this belief right now. All right, start the timer now. All right. I don't know
Yeah.
if that, but
It also matters on how relevant that is for you, right? Like so
right.
oftentimes you may be going for a desire that's not really your true desire, but you can only realize that it's not your true desire while on the path towards that desire. Like something with me, like when I was going through that, oh, I want to be working in New York City, like wearing a suit in this finance job.
Right.
Only by going for that with full force did I realize that that is not my path. So so all these beliefs and everything like that, I think ultimately, it's very personal. It's really all on your
Right.
journey, what's relevant for you. Maybe right now you do need a set of challenges to actually teach you and get you ready for the role that you're trying to play. And so really just follow your journey, have fun with it. Don't worry about the delay. I think I just got a YouTube DM today. Someone, saying, like someone my age really telling me, like, your story really inspired me, blah, blah. Like, how
Right.
long did it take you to do this? I gave him some direction, but
Common.
at the end I was like, don't even worry about the time. Trust me, like it's of no use. You have to live your life here from now anyway. So just day by day, just be consistent with the vibration that you are trying to, create. The person that you want to become, be that right now and stay consistent with it. Go all in day by day by day. It's a commitment you make to yourself every single day. And truly that turns into that conviction. First, it starts off with just faith or like a vague belief, and then it turns into conviction, knowingness that, yes, this is so. And then truly external reflects that back to you.
So before we end, I wanted to, and we're at 11:11 or almost, so just for all the 11:11. Um, I just wanted to, as I always do, last time I talked to you, collect your routine. Your habits and rituals are always evolving. So
Yeah.
you meditate once a day. Do you do it in the morning still, or do you do it in
I
the
think I do
afternoon?
it. I do it multiple times now. So wait, last time we spoke, I said I did it once.
I think that you meditated once a day last time. But how has it evolved? Because it's never when I talk to people, it may stay the same for 30, 60, 90 days, but we're improving and evolving our rituals.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah, my visual is definitely very different than the last time we spoke, I believe. So now that the YouTube has really picked up, picked up, and like the business has really picked up, my activity has gone really high. Where it's like I'm really working like all day in a good way, not
in
like
a
in
good
a
way,
very
like you
strenuous
enjoy,
way.
right?
Enjoying it and doing what I don't really think I would be doing anything else. Even sometimes on the weekends when I'm outside, I'm like I wouldn't mind be working right now, like.
Yeah.
But because the activity has gone really high, I need to make sure that I'm always like also based more and more in that presence, right? Like anchored in that presence. So
Right.
now I started to wake up at 5 o'clock, and I really use the time from 5 o'clock to about 9 o'clock to just do awareness stuff, like so meditation. I
Hmm.
watch a lot of satsang videos from Muji and Rupert Spira,
Hmm.
really to because that's really what I'm passionate about. The business and stuff, like all that stuff, is great, but I realize that that's not where my joy and my happiness truly lie. That's my expression right now. However, like what like truly lights me on fire is this inquiry of the self. So
Hmm.
I meditate in the morning for about an hour. I watch those satsang videos and everything. I do my yoga. I go on a walk, really just like focusing on the breath, nothing else, just focusing on taking really deep breaths. And then I also meditate. So like then I get into work at around 9 or so, and then I meditate again in the afternoon a little bit for about 15 minutes. Sometimes I don't, but then definitely in the evening and then at night.
So
So it's
three
something
times
that
a
I
day?
I yeah, I would say three
Yeah.
times a day, sometimes two, but then I make sure to at least once go very deep to completely disengage from all thoughts, all perceptions,
Hmm.
all sense of it, even me being Sunny, right? Forgetting about everything and just being that blank awareness for however long. So
Right.
I break it up. Yeah.
Are you somebody that uses affirmations a lot, Sharma?
So these were my affirmations before.
Right.
Like all these quotes early on in my journey, up until maybe like a couple months ago, I was really filling all this stuff up, like all these quotes that really resonated with me
Right.
from books. And there's also a different wall there with certain affirmations that I had written on there. I think once you have a lot of this stuff integrated into your experience, there's no need for affirmation.
Right.
From then on, just trust your journey, trust your awareness, work on awareness. Everything else takes care of itself. So I don't really work on affirmations at all anymore. But I do every now and then like return some of these quotes because I believe that if they're in my experience, right, they're
Right.
very relevant. So sometimes I'll just like look at a quote and I'm like, damn, that's exactly what I need to read at this time. And it's like,
Maybe I need to do that to one of my walls, man. That's very tempting.
definitely do that. It ends up looking cool too.
So, you have a really cool course that I want to recommend, Accelerated Reality. How can people get access to this course? What's the
Yeah,
website?
so the accelerated reality program is something that I really just recently like transformed into the best new version of itself. And it's really about creating the life you truly want to live through a higher consciousness mindset. So a lot of things that we spoke about in this video, right?
Awesome.
Creating through that higher consciousness perspective. So all you need to, if this truly resonates with you and this is something that you want to explore, you can just book a free consultation with me in which we can really discuss what your current situation is, how I can be of help to you, and if this program is the right fit for you at this time. So that's just something that I link them to. So I'll link them down to, my video and everything. And then you simply book that with me and then we get to have a chat and really see if this is the right fit for you at this time.
So sunnysharma.com
So it's
is personal mastery
personalmasteryquest.com.
development, or just personal mastery quest.
Personalmasteryquest.com.
I'm sorry, personalmasteryquest.com. All right. So, uh, very helpful. And I totally recommend Sunny's videos. What I had mentioned to you when I had talked about the interview before is I would love if someday you went and got some transcripts of your stuff, because a lot of it is beyond Neville and all. In the moment, you're capturing some real nuggets, some real power. I still want to see a book by Sunny Sharma. I'm willing to help co-write it, but in any case, I think there are a lot of people would agree with that. If we go back into the treasure trove of the daily videos that you have done, there's some nuggets that are just as good as Who Am I and the rest, and I would love to see it. And I think that a lot of people would. So don't forget that idea. I know that if that's not your intention, maybe it's mine, but a lot of people would love to read the words of Sunny just as much as to listen to him. You've taught
Let
me
me
a
know in the
lot
comment
about
section below.
what's that?
I was like, let me know in the comment section below if you do
Yes,
believe
in
that
the
I should.
comments. Put them in the comments. And
But I
it,
appreciate that.
it can be a 16 pager. It doesn't matter. But but I definitely, you have a lot to contribute. I've learned a lot about centering, about focus, about stillness, about being in the moment. And I've learned that from you. And I want to thank you, because it has helped me a lot. When I'm struggling sometimes, those teachings, which are so profound and simple, are exactly what I need. And a lot of people out there can get that by subscribing to Sunny's channel. Congratulations on 10,000 subscribers. Or
Thank you. I
as
appreciate it.
Neville
You're
would say,
next.
I
You're
remember when you only had 10,000
next.
subscribers,
Yeah.
right? So,
Wink, wink.
we're going to, I promise we'll definitely be talking again soon. I want to check in with you soon. Everybody check out Sunny's channel. Sunny's a beast. And thank you and welcome to the Reality Revolution.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it so much.